Do you, Philip, take Becky as your fully wedded wife? For richer, for poorer, in sickness, in health, for better, for worse, till death do you part? I do. If Philip had known, his response to that question would have been, I don't, or more like, I dare not. I want to tell you a story about an odious woman. Philip is who we generally refer to as an half caste in Nigeria. His dad is American, while his mom Nigerian. Philip met Becky while he was on a visit to Nigeria. I didn't believe in love at first sight until Philip met Becky. Their love was an absolute instant. This came as a surprise to all of us who knew Becky back in university days. I stayed with her when I was in Obafemi Awolowo University in my 300 level. We had disagreements. She had disagreements with almost everyone in the room. She even reported a roommate's dad to the school authority. That was the kind of person Becky was. She had no friend. She didn't even want one. What Becky lacked in relating with others, she more than made up for it in her looks. Becky was the most attractive girl in the university with her flawless skin. Her eyes were so wide you could swim in them. She had curves in the right places. The very few times she smiled, it lightens up the room. Perhaps that was what held Philip's attention. From the moment they met, they were inseparable. They became everyone's relationship model. Relationships broke up over arguments that began with, why don't you treat me the way Philip treats Becky? The two lovebirds were always together. When Philip returned to the United States of America, Becky was visibly shaken. She spoke to no one. This ended the name woman alone. Becky was practically living on her phone. To put her out of her misery, Philip decided to relocate to Nigeria. Immediately, Becky moved in with him. It was not a surprise that the couple just announced one day that they were married. No one was invited for the wedding. No one expected to be invited. But it came as a surprise that Becky's parents also got the good news after the marriage, after the wedding. Becky got a job at one of the multinationals in the country, just out of school. However, due to the fact that Philip had to relocate, he found it a bit difficult getting his feet in the Nigerian marketplace. We knew this would not be a problem. The two of them were so in love, and love conquers all, doesn't it? Shortly after they got married, Becky began to complain about how lazy Philip was. She began to accuse him of being an opportunist who was content to watch his wife work while he does nothing. Philip was in fact frantically looking for a job. He reminded her that he left the United States at her request and had to leave behind his very well-paying job. Becky would have none of that. If you didn't think that was an easy way out, would you have taken it? She retorted. After several months, Philip eventually got a job with one of the foremost oil servicing companies in Nigeria. Philip was happy. Not so much because of the job, but because in his mind he felt finally his wife would finally change her mind towards him. And changed she did. Becky became happy, but the peace did not last. Due to the nature of Philip's job, he had to stay late at work a lot of times. Anytime Becky got home before him, she met him at the door with accusations of sleeping with his PA, his colleagues, and even friends. One day, Becky was invited for a send-forth party at Philip's office. Philip was really happy. He wanted Becky to attend because he wanted to show his wife off to his colleagues. When Becky arrived at the party, she immediately became the center of attention. She looked like an angel in a turquoise blue dress with matching sandals. Philip was very happy. His wife's mind would finally be at rest. He was in a high mood on their way home. He had plans for the night, plans for things that had not happened in a long time. He was whistling and driving at the same time. When Becky commented, "Don't think I didn't notice." "Notice what?" Philip smiled. he had an idea what she was talking about. That you couldn't get your eyes off your boss's wife. I'm sure you secretly wish she was your wife. Is your boss aware that you plan to kill him? All the desire fled from Philip. He could not believe his ears. He and everyone at that party could not take their eyes off Becky. Carol is over 58 years old. He said, obviously baffled. So it was a teenage daughter you were eyeing. At that moment, Philip was truly concerned for Becky. Something must be terribly wrong with her. That night ended with the couple sleeping in different rooms. Philip decided they needed help, so consulted Mama Becky. Because as soon as a small problem is solved, a bigger one arose. Their marriage did not seem to be working. Mama Becky is Chief Essen's fourth wife. She never had to work all her life. She had just won their village beauty pageant, when Chief Essen asked for her hand in marriage. Give her a baby, Mama Becky advised, after counting the beads she was holding as if she was consulting an oracle. Once she has a child, she will be too busy to find fault in everything you do. Philip thanked Mama Becky and decided that it was time to get more serious about having a child. After a year and 6 months, Becky became pregnant. From that day, she blamed Philip. She accused him of deliberately making her pregnant so that he could sleep around. Lamented about how he hated her from the day they met, which was why he refused to take her to the US. Philip was not surprised because he had heard that pregnant women were not always the most rational. Becky's delivery date was close. Philip suggested that Becky should travel to have the baby in the UK. Becky refused, saying that she could not survive without Philip. On her delivery day, she accused Philip of not convincing her to go abroad because he wanted her to die so he could marry another woman. This time, the baby came. Philip was happy. This time, he didn't even want his wife back. He wanted his life. He just wanted to be left alone. He was happy that the baby would take off some of the pressure he was facing with Becky. But he was also sad that a child, his own child, had become an object of bargain. But things didn't get better with Becky. Becky had simply found another weapon with which to wage a war. As the child grew older, Becky would threaten Philip with the child. Philip became detached from his own baby. He discovered that with Becky, everything was just a weapon to attack others and to defend herself. Philip saw Becky do the same to his lovely Tina. From the moment the child was born, she stood no chance against his mom's onslaught. He knew that the child grew up to hate him as much as he hated himself, which was why he did what he did. When Tina was just 6 years old, he took the child away in the night and sent her to his brother who was living in Russia. Becky woke up and looked everywhere for Tina, to no avail. Philip was dead. They looked for the child together, but the child was never found. Becky cried. She blamed Philip for being such a weak man. She blamed herself for stooping so low to marry him. Indeed, she had stooped so low, for Philip had been reduced to a mere shadow of his former self. For 3 things the earth is disquieted, and 4 for which it cannot bear. For a servant when he reigns, a fool when he is filled with meat, an handmaiden that is heir to her mistress, and an odious woman when she is married.